So I would like to call this meeting to order for March 16th, 2023 TPA Governing Board meeting. Staff, could you please call the roll so that we can establish our quorum today?
At this time, I am only asking those board members attending in person to respond by saying here when I call your name. As a reminder, you can unmute your microphones by pushing the button on the base prior to responding. Alternates, please also state your name if you are attending on behalf of a TPA board representative. Steve Wilson,
Here.
Yvette Drucker. We'll grab her in a second. Fran Nacklis,
Fran Nacklis here attending on behalf of Yvette Drucker.
Angela Cruz is absent. Shelley Petrolia,
Here.
Joel Flores, Jim Kretzky,
Here.
Ronaldo Diaz,
Here.
Joni Brinkman,
Here.
DeAndre Poole,
Here.
Greg Weiss,
Here.
Marcy Woodward, Maria Sachs, Mac Bernard is absent. Shirley Lanier, Fred Pinto,
Here, Jeff Amara here on behalf of Fred.
thank you. Michael Napoleon,
Here.
Christy Fox is absent. Joseph Peduzzi,
Shalonda Warner here on behalf of Joseph Peduzzi.
thank you. Maria Marino, here. Chelsea Reed,
I am here and we're going to go right into, we have a quorum, correct?
yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, lovely. So we're going to go right into the invocation and then if you would join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, we're going to ask Mayor Wilson for the invocation, please.
Let us pray. Oh, Heavenly Father, we come to you once again with bowed heads and humble hearts. Thank you as always for your grace and your mercy. Realizing, Father, that over and over again, that through your grace and your mercy, you've been better to us than we've been to ourselves. And with that, we say thank you. Thank you, Father, for helping us rise up through our trials and tribulations, our disappointment and letdowns toward our fellow man. Father, you know it's tempting to us to always surround ourselves with only those who love us. But that's not living, at least not the kind of living you desire of us. Help us to love even our enemies and to build upon the relationship of love and kindness to each other. And finally, Father, we ask a special blessing for our chairperson. You know her heart, and all of us whom you have allowed to be assembled here today, realizing that we're no strangers to each other, just perhaps friends we have not yet met. We give you all the praises and the glory. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, individual, and liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Mayor Wilson. All right, staff, do we have any modifications to our agenda today?
We do have one modification for a member requesting permission to participate remotely. Councilmember Drucker did have an emergency leak in her home and is requesting permission from the board
All right.
to participate.
I see no issue with that whatsoever. We're happy to have her join us virtually and wish her luck while she manages a couple odds and ends at home. All right, so I'm seeking a motion to adopt the agenda, please.
So moved.
May I have a second? All right, so we, all in favor? Any opposed? Great, we'll move on. Thank you so much. Motion passes. Are
Madam
there
Chair,
any?
Madam Chair, excuse me, but for those of us who have hearing problems, it
Yep.
would be really good if everybody could speak directly into the mic. So
Will
that
do. Okay,
when
so
you say
everybody, yeah.
something, we don't fail to react.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. All right, so please, if you do speak into the mic, there's a little button there to turn it on. If you're not speaking, we do ask that you turn your mic off so that it won't interrupt any sound. Thank you so much. So we have no objections to Yvette Drucker participating remotely, so they can go ahead. We'll just note that in the minutes. And we're going to move on and see if we have any public comments.
There are no public comments.
Okay, great. So we're going to move right into our special presentations because it is Florida Bicycle Month. So I wanted to, are we going to share a screen? Oh, Yvette has something to say? Yes, go ahead.
Hi, thank you so much. I just wanted to make a correction. So Fran Nachlas is in for our alternate, just our regular alternate. So she said she was my alternate, but I'm online. So I just wanted to correct the minutes to reflect that.
Thank you. I have that.
Okay,
Great.
thank
Thanks,
you.
Amanda. Great job. Thanks, Yvette. We appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then if staff could please note that Commissioner Woodward has joined us and Mayor Flores as well. Thank you. All right. So we have no public comment. We're moving on to the proclamation, which is Florida Bicycle Month. Ta-da. So as you guys can see, we've already had several different municipalities in the county declare Florida Bike Month in their proclamations. So the TPA had set a goal of 15, excuse me, and we are at 18. So we were at 13 last year, 15 was the goal, and we are at 18. So if I do my math and we have 39 municipalities in the county, maybe we should set it for 40 next year and get everybody up on board. Yes. Thank you guys all so much for every municipality into our county and to the different clubs that have taken this on. I encourage all of you to ask your commissions and your councils to go for a bike ride. And if not, I know that our executive director will be talking about a bike ride happening here at the TPA that we hope you join us for. So happy Bicycle Month. We're going to move on now and to comments from the chair and member comments. And we're going to start by welcoming West Palm Beach alternate commissioner Shalonda Warren, who's in here for Joe Peduzzi, and also Boca Raton alternate council member Fran Nachlas. It's nice to see you again. And would you guys like to just introduce yourselves briefly, Shalonda?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. My name is Shalonda Warren. I'm a commissioner for the great city of West Palm Beach. And fortunately, I will be able to serve another 2 years, another term, and be sworn in office again on April 6th. So I'm very excited about that. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you, Fran.
And thank you. My name's Fran Nachlas, and I was appointed on at the end of November to serve out the rest of Councilmember Thompson's term. And I will begin my own term on March 31st for the next 3 years.
All right. Welcome and congratulations.
Thank you.
If you guys can indulge me, I also want to congratulate Mayor Wilson on his reelection and Joni Brinkman on your reelection. We're glad to have you guys back on board again, and congratulations. And so to any other newly elected officials, it's a big deal. So last month we talked about agenda reviews, and it sounds like we had a couple of folks who did do agenda reviews this month. So especially some of our new members who did it too. So I thank you so much for that. And before we go further, I do want you guys to look at your desks. You'll see that the meeting agenda has been printed out and available for you. This is also available online. Please take the time to go back and make sure that all of the board meetings are on your calendar so that you can join us. And if you can't make it, plan ahead for your alternate to join us, please, so that we can always have a quorum and make sure that we take care of our business here. So what's happening as far as staff planning for it, calendar invites used to only be sent to assistants. However, what we're going to be doing is all board alternates and representatives will now be receiving a calendar invite. So it will also be sent to you specifically. If you do receive it, just say yes. You don't need to reply all. There are a lot of us, and that would be a lot of reply alls. So just click on the yes or have your assistant manage it for us. That would be great. So I see a card up. We're going to go ahead for board member comments for items not already on the agenda. We have a card up for Michael Napoleon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one quick point. I don't know if anyone has taken advantage of it yet, but I've been down to Boca a few times and I've tried out the diverging diamond interchange, and I think it's great. I don't know if everyone agrees. I know some people don't, but having grown up in Boca and knowing that intersection really well, it's a tremendous improvement to getting on and off 95 with that new, traffic pattern. So good job. We should get more of those.
Thank you so much. All right, so we're going to move on to the executive director report. We have our executive director, Valerie Nielsen.
I'm sorry, Chair.
We have a comment from Yvette Drucker virtually.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for that. But this weekend it's going to be closed because it's getting ready to open fully integrated next week. So don't try it out this weekend, try it out the following weekend. So I want to make sure everybody knows the DDI is going to be closed. I believe it's starting either today or tomorrow, and it's going to reopen on March 27th.
Thank you for the clarification. And I think Valerie wants to add to that.
Thank you so much. And actually, we do have a representative from FDOT here, Christine Vasiska. I think she was ready to make a couple comments about that. Would you like to expand a little bit more about that project?
Here we go. Thank you very much, Valerie. Christine Fasiska, District 4 Transportation Planning Manager. Yeah, just to give a brief update, our construction folks did let us know that the actual closure will be starting Friday, March 24th. And they're hoping to get the work done by Sunday, but it'll actually be closed till Monday. If they can get it done earlier, they'll open it on Sunday, but it'll be March 24th through March 27th.
May I interrupt? Is there somewhere where someone, if they were looking for information about that, could go online to keep an eye on it?
I will find out a website, but our PIO officer does have that information. I'll get the website and get it to Valerie.
That'd be great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we have another comment from Mayor Flores.
Good morning, everyone. My comments is regarding 6th Avenue on I-95. Right now, as you head west, it's closed because of the bridge, but the signage is not very clear. People are still getting off of 6th thinking that they could go west, and it's creating a major traffic in those back roads as they try to figure out how to now navigate west once they get off east, because they detour you into basically the east of 95, and you have to figure out whether you're going to go up to Lake Worth, 10th, or backtrack, or whichever way down to Lantana. So I was hoping that we could work with FDOT on better signage so that people understand that road is closed heading west.
Mayor Weiss.
Thank you. It's actually a county project. And so we are, now there is, when you get down off and you head west, it does tell people to make a U-turn, and there is an area for them to make the U-turn, but they're not doing it. But we are going to add additional signage. We may, in fact, actually totally close the road off if we can't get people to comply. But there is signage as they're coming westbound that tells them to make a U-turn, and that but anyways, but we are working on it, and I mean, it's been closed now for a couple of days, and we'll continue to monitor it and work on it and try and get people to understand, because it's going to be closed for 6 months.
Okay, thank you so much, Mayor Weiss. We appreciate that. Okay, also Ronaldo Diaz has a comment.
Yeah, super loud. Thank you for highlighting that. And thank you, Mayor Weiss, because in Lake Worth, we've been dealing with it for the last couple of days in various regards. I think a combination of 6th Avenue being closed, also Lake Osborne Drive underneath the bridge, and then we ourselves have some work going on right in front of City Hall on Lake and Lucerne. And I think there's a lot of confusion or need for signs because people are being diverted. And I think there's maybe a considerable amount of people who don't realize you can't get back on I-95 from Lake Worth Road. So, moving them continually to 10th Avenue or Lantana, those signs would be really helpful, because traffic normally Lake Worth we're not free from traffic, but it's usually not as bad, and it's been backed up for a while.
Okay, thank you all so much. We'll move on to the executive director's report, please.
Wonderful. Good morning, everyone. Oh, you have. Sorry, Amanda.
I'm so sorry. We had another card. I didn't see that. I apologize.
Sorry, just in regards to the ongoing construction projects, not only do we have that, but in our area, we also have Florida Mango that's been closed for a really long time, working on the one bridge. And I assume when they get that done, they're going to have to do the second bridge. So it's maybe needs to be better coordination between the county and FDOT, because I also understand that they're getting ready to start construction any day at the intersection for an expanded intersection at Forest Hill and Military Trail. That's an FDOT project, but it's just all these projects at the same time that are taking a year or whatever to construct, it's just causing a lot of traffic issues for the central Palm Beach County. So I just wanted to make sure everybody's aware that it's also Florida Mango and Forest Hill Military Trail.
All right, thank you. And I see no other cards. So let's move on to the executive director's report.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our new representatives. Thank you for joining us today. So just to kick it off, we are very excited. March is Florida Bicycle Month. Thank you, everyone who has done a proclamation or is planning to do one this month. We're very excited to have surpassed our goal. So I want to give a shout out also to our Ped Bike coordinator, Valentina, who's been reaching out to everyone to encourage that. We are doing a ride at the end of the month, March 31st, a group ride from here, from the TPA. It'll be a leisurely ride. We encourage all of you to join us and sign up for that. And we also have some other events going on, so please check them out on our website. I also want to congratulate the city of Westlake and the town of Juno Beach for recently adopting complete streets policies. We're very excited about that. We do have a template and more resources on that on our website. And I don't have it mentioned here, but last night, the Lake Park adopted a Vision Zero resolution. So congratulations to them as well. We will be doing a Complete Streets workshop later this month on March 24th and a Vision Zero workshop on April 28th. We encourage all of you to join us for that, to learn more about our Complete Street design guidelines, how to adopt a policy, how to pursue funding opportunities that are now available for these types of projects, and also for Vision Zero for those who have adopted a resolution or who are thinking about it. Please join us. We'll be talking more about the next steps for that, creating a local action plan and funding opportunities. So those are available on our website under events. We are also undergoing a federal certification review now. This happens every 4 years where FHWA, the Federal Highway Administration, and Federal Transit Administration come down to visit us and do a review of us to certify our agency. They will be here on April 3rd and April 4th. April 3rd will be a public meeting at 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. to hear publics from the comment, from our partners, from our members about how we're doing. And then April 4th will be basically a meeting of TPA with them and our partners on just presenting and going through Q&A on how we're doing for that. We've been doing mobile tours so far this year. And thank you for those who have joined us and participating. Our next one will be on transit on Palm Tran and Tri-Rail going down to Palm Tran's headquarters on April 7th. Please join us for that. We're really excited about it. The link is here, Tour Transit. And we are also planning a transportation and land use connection speaker panel talking about transit-oriented development, transit-oriented communities, and having expert speakers here on May 5th. So really encourage you to join us for that. You may have heard, but we just wanted to remind you that Palm Tran is conducting a survey right now to determine interest in an express bus service from Port St. Lucie to downtown West Palm Beach. You can find more about that on their website. So that's exciting as well. And we recently did a board member training on February 24th. Thank you for those of you who joined us for that and talking about our role and what the board members' roles are serving on this board. The training, the video for that can be found on our website, and we have an updated handbook as well. And we're also providing more opportunities for training for board members. There are still spots available for the statewide MPOAC Weekend Institute trainings. There's one in Orlando on April 14th, 15th, and Tampa on May 5th and 6th. I know some of you have expressed interest and registered for that. If you're still interested, if anyone hasn't, please let me know. There's still a few spots available. And with that, concludes my updates. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And everyone, please do take a moment to share and fill out the Port St. Lucie Express bus survey for Palm Tran. It's a really important connector because as we talk about, we're one traveling public depending on, it doesn't matter if you're here in this county, Martin County, or down south. And this is something that could get some folks off the road if you agree with it. So definitely take the time for that. And I don't see any cards up from our executive director's report. So we're going to move on to pass our consent agenda for the day. And it just is some county housekeeping, governing board minutes from our last meeting, as well as some advisory committee appointments. So may I get a Is anyone removing anything from this? No? May I get a motion in a second?
Motion to approve.
Great, okay.
Who was the motion and second? Sorry.
I think we had several. I think we'll take Mayor Flores for the motion and then we had a second to the right. Okay, great. Mayor Petrolia. Thank you so much. Everybody was ready to move on to the consent. I appreciate that. Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, motion passes. So we're going to move into our action items and we're moving on to our public participation plan. I'm going to ask Melissa Murray, our TPA Public Relations Director, present this item. Hi, Melissa.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Melissa Murray. I'm the Public Relations Director for the TPA. I am going to be talking to you today about the draft Public Participation Plan for 2023. This is a federally required document, so it's very important to have it and to make sure that we're always reviewing it and updating it as needed. So I'll be going over what the PPP is, some of the updates that we made and how we track these things to make sure that we are engaging with the public. So here's a brief overview of the purpose of the Public Participation Plan. This is what enables and encourages us to interact with the public, to make them aware of what we're doing here at the TPA, the transportation planning process, and how you all prioritize those projects. In this document, there is a section on public comment periods and official notice processes for all of our required work products. So that is the Transportation Improvement Program, or the TIP, the Long Range Transportation Plan, or the LRTP, the Unified Planning Work Program, or the UPWP, as well as this document, the PPP. So in this document, you'll see how long we are required to notify the public for, how long we keep public comment periods open for, how they can comment, who we share this information with. So the board, committees, and all of that information. It also talks about how you can get involved with the TPA, whether you're an elected official, a member of the general public, you'd like to attend events. We have all of that information outlined in the document. And then we also talk about how we reach out to the public and how we track that information to make sure that we're keeping ourselves accountable and also seeing, like I mentioned, what's working and what we can potentially do better. So this is a schedule of how we've advertised the Public Participation Plan for 2023. So we have a 45-day public comment period, which is actually the longest of any of our required work products. That's because we want to make sure that we are involving the public as much as we can in this. But that 45-day public comment period is actually federally required. In the final document, in one of the appendices, there will be a list of all of the public comments that we've received thus far, which we have received quite a few, and it's been very helpful to review those. We've shared public notices about the PPP on our social media several times in our biweekly newsletter, as well as separate email blasts that we've sent out to the public to encourage them to comment. We've shared this in person with folks. We've also gotten electronic comments, and we have shared this with our advisory committees and today with you at the board meeting. So we opened this for public review on January 30th, presented to our committees on March 1st and 2nd, and are presenting today to you on March 16th, and hopefully receiving final adoption. So here's a list of some of the updates that we made to this Public Participation Plan document. So as you're aware, we redesigned our website recently, and one of the main priorities of that was creating greater ADA accessibility. We worked very closely with our new web developer, as well as one of our Vision Zero advisory committee members who's blind. He uses a screen reader, and he was able to sit down with us both in person and virtually to walk us through how he uses the website. And we made lots of adjustments over time to make sure it's working for him in the way that it works just for everyone else. Our public participation deliverables are also listed out. This is a new section we added to really make sure people are aware of what we're doing in order to educate the public. So our biweekly newsletter, working with the media on notifying them about things we're doing, creating print materials, graphics, taking photos, creating videos, all of that is listed in the PPP. We, of course, use our website and social media for digital outreach. And then public involvement tracking and measurement is a new section we added as well, which I'll get into just a little bit in a minute. In the back of the PPP, there is a list of transportation acronyms. There are a million of them. So we reviewed them, we added some more, we took some out to make sure that it's the most up-to-date information. And then our limited English proficiency plan is a separate document that we have here at the TPA, but it's an appendix to the public participation plan. So we updated this with newer Census Bureau data to make sure that we're reflecting the populations within Palm Beach County that speak limited amounts of English. So we understand what populations we need to be reaching out to during the planning process. And then lastly, when we look at tracking, this is something we received a few questions about throughout this public comment process, why we don't include data on tracking in the public participation plan. And the reason is because the public participation plan lives for a little bit of time, but we track things every single month. And you receive some of this information in your agenda packets, starting with our monthly public involvement activity report. This is always included in your agenda packet, and on the screen, you'll see a screenshot of January's public involvement activity report. On the left side of the screen are two graphs about social media impressions and social media followers. And these are two strategic plan goals that we have here at the TPA to increase both of those numbers. The more people who are seeing what we're doing on social media, the more people who can share it, who can tell their friends, who can tell their family, who can get involved. And then on the right side of the public involvement activity report is information about our total media coverage for that month. So that includes everything from radio to television to digital sources, all of our local media partners who are contributing, newspapers, of course. And then there is a link to view that month's media report. And then below, which you can't see because it's covered by another screenshot, but I always like to feature at least one or two news stories that we were featured in that month. So that's where our strategic plan comes in. And then every year we create an annual report to talk about the work we've done. And one of our yearly goals in our strategic plan is to engage the public. It's the first goal that we have. And so I like to consider it very important. We're also doing monthly UPWP reporting to FDOT on how many presentations we're doing to the public, all of these social media analytics, who we're collaborating with, who we're reaching out to. And then we're also tracking Google Analytics. So seeing what pages people are visiting on our website the most, what our website traffic looks like from month to month, which I'm also tracking. And then making sure we're keeping tabs on our public comment forms. So if someone reaches out and maybe they just have a question about a county project, for example, we can get that information to the correct person and make sure that their questions get answered. So that's everything that I have for you today. I'll take any questions.
Does anyone have questions? I do, but I'll wait. Oh, we have one. Okay, so Mayor Kratzky.
Just what do we do to measure that the public feels like they're engaged with their comments are heard?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do that in a couple ways. We are making sure that, for example, with this PPP, if we weren't getting any public comments back, I would feel like we're not really engaging the public in order to educate them on what we're doing. I don't know the number off the top of my head of how many comments we've gotten, but it's been at least a few dozen, which I'll take because I believe the last PPP in 2020, when we updated it, we got one comment. So we are making sure that we're sharing information with the public in any way that we can. That's why we have an emphasis on working with local media more, putting out those press releases and media advisories. As you all know, media is very powerful. And if you share a story one time at 5 o'clock, you're reaching tens of thousands of people. And through that, maybe people are following up with reporters or commenting on those news pages and giving feedback. We're tracking social media and how many interactions we have there every month. So it's a combination of things. We're also making sure that when we do have in-person public meetings as well, that we're trying to get that word out the best that we can to involve people and get them here. Although we know that public in-person meetings can be a challenge to get folks to come to, even creating digital options like for the Okeechobee study, where we had online workshops that people could participate in, take those surveys for 3 weeks or 4 weeks versus just one time in a public meeting from say 5 to 7. So just making sure we're doing everything we can.
It just, that was a tough question. But but I just wanted to observe, or just wanted to, we should be thinking about it. I think you're doing a great job engaging the public, informing them, giving them the opportunity to participate. But I'm not sure we measure whether or not they're feeling like they were able to influence. And I'm just sharing observations I made, with FDOT, we have a significant bridge closure up in US 1. FDOT's got a phenomenal process, in my opinion, where they gather comments. They've held a lot of meetings. I've gone to a number of those meetings and tried to point out to our residents how thorough the FDOT is in resolving the issues, but you almost have to make that extra effort so that people realize that, gee, they made a difference. They asked and someone's doing something about it. And I could give examples, but I don't know that anybody really has, developed a good metric or good approach to doing that. But in the end, that's what's important. When the public comes to our meetings, the town is, we at least try to make them feel like, or when they send an email or whatever way they reach out to us, you have to make an effort so they realize, because, I've been in office for a long time. A lot of people have made a big difference when they give me comments, but they don't always know it. So somehow we should always be striving on that aspect of engagement, because that really leads to the real true engagement and satisfaction. But it was a tough question. I don't have an answer.
We'll work on finding one. Thank you.
If I may, great presentation, Melissa. I'll jump in and mention, although we don't own or operate or have any authority over the transportation system, we're truly a planning agency. We do have an interactive comment map, which has been really successful. I know some of our board members share it in their e-news, but we invite the public to provide comments and how to improve or issues or suggestions on the transportation system. And we follow up with them. It is on our website. We follow up with them via email, and then we relay the comments and try to get them to the right party. And I know that we've had comments from people very excited about that they were able to make a difference. I know actually one of Mayor Reed's residents couldn't believe that, she pointed something out, and then it was actually was a county roadway, I think, but it got fixed pretty quickly, and she now raves about the comment map. So I just wanted to mention that's one tool that we have that's been pretty successful, and I think people do feel like they're having a voice, making an impact.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And that reminded me, even during our walk bike audits that we do out in the community, we've had things fixed the same day. I remember when we went to Indiantown Road and did a bike audit, they were able to install seating at a bus stop, a Palm Train stop that same day, because it was just, out in the sun and, nowhere for people to sit. So at least they had a seat there the same day, and they were really excited that they were able to make that change the same day and work collaboratively on that. So.
Excellent. Good point. Seeing as it can take 8 to 10 years for any road project, getting seats same day, or what our executive director was talking about did happen. A resident used the public comment map, and within a few days, a sidewalk was suddenly there. It was wonderful.
Yes.
So nonetheless, we had a couple questions. We have Commissioner Marino, and then we'll go to our mayor over here.
Thank you. Your 45-day public comment period ends when?
Ends today.
Oh, well. Okay. But I do want to say how important the public comments are,
Yes.
because we're, 2,200 square miles as a county and 39 municipalities. It's hard for our staff to go out and actually see everything that goes on. And when we do get public comment, also a perfect example is North Lake Boulevard right now, between the intersection of North Lake and Military Trail, where there is looks like a road diet, but it's not. We're actually doing median improvements. When the comments come in and the information is researched, as though we then can put together a package that anytime someone else comments about it, we have the answers, we have the check marks of when the project is going to get done. And, oftentimes people don't like the fact that there's cones that are just there and no one's doing anything, but there's a reason behind that. There's surveying that has to be done, and there's other things, justifications for it. But, when you don't see people working, you get so frustrated, especially on North Lake Boulevard. But public comment really, I guess this is just my dissertation of saying public comment really is appreciated and important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, Madam Chair, just a quick follow-up. Thank you for your engagement. And again, Valerie, thank you for bringing us up to date on that. As my colleagues indicated earlier, it's important that people just not having the social media there, but we are responding to them. Is there any way that we can tweak it, that some of those things that the board can be shared with that same information? Because I don't follow social media like that, but it would be good to know as a board member, so that we can see what's going on and respond to it if need be during our meeting. Is that possible?
Do you receive the biweekly newsletter or bi-monthly newsletter by chance in your email?
No, I don't.
All right. So I'll let you answer that, but go.
Sure. And Valerie, you can add anything if needed. But yes, we actually received a similar question from one of our committee members about, is if we're posting something on social media, for example, like you mentioned, could we also send him a message directly to share that information if it's really important to the TPA at that time, to try and get the word out, if they could share it with their community and things like that. And we will take all the help we can get with getting the word out about any of the work we're doing here at the TPA or in the community. But yes, I would say the newsletter is a great way to stay informed about the things that at that time are the most important to us and that we want the community to be aware of. Sign up for things, get involved, take surveys, things like that. But if there is any specific information that we would, Valerie, you feel would be helpful to share with the board and ask them to distribute, I'm happy to work with you on that.
Thank you. And I'll chime in. We have found that, and I think we have some in the check-in, but we've actually created business cards because they're easy to hand out and have in different places, in a library or in the community center, with our website and also the link to that comment map. And that's something that if anyone would like more of those, we can distribute, because it's it's something that can be there and, basically invite the public. Maybe they're not on our social media or they're not, online, but at least they have a place to go to provide comments, and it's another way to get that tool out and the word out about it to people. So we're happy to provide more of those and to take back to your communities and share with residents.
Good question. Oh, okay. Councilmember Hamara.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One of the things that we're paying a lot of attention to, appropriately so, right now is the connection between land use and transportation. And I know a number of the municipalities are doing some master planning for the future, looking at redevelopment kinds of things, TOD, all that type of stuff. Anytime that there is a review of any of these reports, it would be really, really good to have a TPA presence, because a good question that is often asked by the public is, so what about all those cars that's going to be dumped on the roadway? What's our plan for all of that kind of stuff? And some of us who are fairly well plugged in can provide an answer, but not nearly as good as TPA can on these matters. Also making sure that the TPA is staying up with what's going on in each one of these areas. Now, I know in our particular case, TPA helped fund the study that we've done for State Road 7 commercial corridor. So I know you all are well plugged into that, but there are others going on. I know Wellington has some going on, and I'm sure others do as well. But that connection is so critical. Insofar as public participation is concerned, whether or not asked to participate, participating and being there is really, I think, a very helpful thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So any other questions regarding the PPP? All right. So I just have one or two quick questions.
Sure.
So when people log on to the page, we ask them if they represent anybody, and you said we've gotten 12 comments. Do you know if it's residents or us, or who's answering? Right
Yeah, they've mostly been just members of the public. There's been a couple committee members. I had one committee member who proofread every single page and gave me suggestions on punctuation and alternative language. So that was really helpful. I went through everything, and
was it Maria?
I mean, it was helpful to me. I love a good grammar review. So yeah, a couple committee members, I think 2 or 3 committee members, as well as some members of the public. I recognize some of their names from just coming to TPA events. I don't think any board member comments, but I do know that there have been several board members who've shared the PPP either in their newsletters or on their social media. So thank you to all of you who have done that. I
Well, and that's
appreciate
what I would like to echo what you just said, because I'm looking around and I know several folks here have monthly newsletters or have a strong social media presence. Please share everything. And that's what I was trying to explain to Mayor Wilson. It's right, most of it's right there in the newsletter that you send us anyway. You could literally just copy and paste. I wouldn't recommend writing your own information because Melissa does such a great job of it. If you are on social media, just click share and tag the TPA in it. Don't even tag it, just share it. We're here to be the connection between our residents and the federal, local, and state government. So, and what the PPP does is connect everyone to that and give them the answer to where they can find information. And then if the answer is not there, then they get the information in time. So it's a great link. I highly recommend, again, I think it falls on our board to make sure that the voice of the TPA gets out there, not only what the TPA is able to actually accomplish, as Valerie said, you know, I like to say, we don't have shovels, we don't actually build the roads, but we can take the comments, and this is a great tool for that. So everybody on the board should probably do this today before the end of the day. So, you know, we have 21 elected officials that sit on this board, so we should have probably 30 people by the end of the day. And then if you have a moment to perhaps post it one last time on Facebook or Instagram or wherever, or share it into an email with us, and let's all send out a blast and actually get some really, really solid comments. Thank you for the great product.
Thank you. I will mention too, that Cassidy, our public relations specialist, puts together our newsletter. So I don't want to take
Oh, I'm
credit
so
for
sorry.
that.
Thank you.
I review it and she does a great job, but Cassidy does an amazing job of prioritizing that every single week, making sure we're up to date on all of that information. So thank you, Cassidy.
Absolutely. And Cassidy makes some of my favorite graphs with arrows on them about how long it takes things to happen. So, okay, great work all together. Anything else, anyone? All right. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much, Melissa. Oh, anything else? Oh, we have to, yeah, of course, we're gonna vote on it. All right, so I'm seeking a motion to adopt the TPA's PPP
Move to adopt.
update. Thank you. Okay. Move to adopt from Councilmember Napoleon. And can I get a second from Mayor Flores? Hearing no further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. We're going to move on to information items. So our voting time is done. However, I highly recommend you guys stay. We're going to be hearing from FDOT. We're going to hear about our long-range transportation plan. We're going to hear about one of my favorite things, which is our TD local coordinating board. And you're going to want to hear that for sure, as well as any other partner agency updates. So if you all could just sit tight, we'll have time for some more. So we're going to go right into our FDOT strategic intermodal system draft, which is the cost feasible plan update for 2050. So we're going to ask Ron, hi, how are you? I will not be able to pronounce your last name. I'll let you do that, from FDOT to present this item.
No worries. Good morning. Ron Karipa, Florida Department of Transportation. Thank you, Chair and Board, for letting me be here to present. Here to provide some updates on the strategic intermodal systems cost feasible plan update. And these are primarily related to the highway mode. So this is broader than the highway, but this is the focus of this. A quick agenda in regards to the background and purpose of the SIS, strategic intermodal system. You also hear SIS a lot, or SIS, the project programming process, the previous coordination we've done in regards to the cost feasible plan, the actual draft that we have right now for Palm Beach County, the remaining schedule, and questions. So the background and purpose of the strategic intermodal system, it was established by Florida statute. Focuses resources on transportation facilities and services supporting critical interregional, international, and interstate trips. It is big picture type trips from South Florida all the way into other parts of the country, or even leaving the country. It's a high priority network of facilities and hubs as well, but we'll focus on facilities for the draft cost feasible plan. I mean highways, but it's very important to the economy and mobility of the state. So the 2050 cost feasible plan ensures consistencies and goals, or excuse me, consistency with the goals of the Florida Transportation Plan, which was recently updated. We also updated our SIS policy plan, and the cost feasible plan works into that. We're looking at the highway and capacity needs based on future revenues, developing a phase plan for approach for cost feasible improvements on the highways to implement them, And again, doesn't include other modes, freight, passenger rail, airports, seaports, spaceports, fixed guideways. Those natures are not in this particular plan. Just a little bit in regards to the program process for the SIS. This is kind of in reverse order, but we want to go from the beginning or to the end. I'll start from the top, but we have our funded projects, which are in year one. Those are the ones that are about to go into construction per se or design, whatever phase is starting. We have program projects, which are in year two through five, which is the TIP, basically transportation improvement plan. And then we have a second 5-year plan, which we also considered funding eligible, fundable, feasible, and that's years 6 through 10. And then we have a cost feasible plan, which covers years 11 through 25. We also believe these projects are financially feasible. And the last bullet is the multimodal unfunded needs plan, which is projects that meet the needs, but we don't believe are feasible or fundable right now. But we do believe there's a transportation need. And you can see the last two bullets kind of overlap and part of the funding strategy and also a long range planning. So the cost feasible plan fits in a little bit of both worlds. So some previous coordination we did in regards to developing the draft plan. We had a joint virtual workshop back in August of 2022, talking about the intent of the cost feasible plan, as I just kind of mentioned. Our tentative schedule, we got inputs from partners within the region. We went over our proposed projects and we were requested and discussed with staff the recommendations if they had for any additional projects. It was a joint meeting, as I said, with other agencies all within District 4. So it included Broward County, Indian River County, Martin, Palm Beach, as well as St. Lucie. So after we went through that process, we submitted a draft request to central office for our funding review and what we felt are the needs for our area. And what we got back from them from our request is this list. This is just Palm Beach County. There are more projects on the plan, but this is your counties and areas. Predominantly, there's managed lane projects and interchange projects on I-95. Some of those limits are all for, it's several projects for the same managed lane system. And you also have some ITS projects out on State Road, US 27 and State Road 80. And then there's also the ultimate corridor for State Road 80 is part of this as well. And a US 27 bypass around Belglade, which was at one time a MPO priority, or I'm sorry, TPA. And we've been studying that. That is ongoing. We can talk about this list if you want to in more detail at the end. So just to go to schedule, a lot of the stuff on the left we've already done. That was the coordination efforts and some previous review. We submitted a draft to central office. Central office provided us the list back and they're a little behind. So they've actually, we're in the comment and question period and they've extended it for us so that February and March for comments is really moved out to June. So I didn't have time to update this prior. I just got the information last week. So, but we are accepting comments from partners as in regards to the draft, what's on the list, if there's stuff missing, if there's stuff that you're not sure about and why it's on there or vice versa. So the plan is still to publish this in July. So the beginning of next fiscal year for the department. And once the plan is published, these projects do also feed into the long range transportation plan. So I know you guys are about to kick that off or already have. So generally, these are a portion of that plan. And any questions? Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we don't mind if you call us an MPO.
Okay.
But we do prefer TPA. I'm just teasing. It's all good. So Mayor Koretsky.
Does this process get down into like a roadway like Indian Town Road, or is it just a
So-
995 and up kind of?
Yeah, I'm sorry. When I went through that slide, I may not have mentioned the facilities particularly. Yes, the CIS facilities are not the arterials in general, the local roads, they're interstate facilities. And then some of the major highways that run east-west, particularly in your area. State Road 80 is an SIS facility, and they generally connect one side of the state to the other. State Road 710 is as well. Indian Town Road is not. There's some connectors as well that serve the Port of Palm Beach. And those are CIS eligible, and sometimes they are local roads or county roads. They're eligible for SIS funding, but they're used to connect the major highway to a different hub or mode.
So what is the process that covers planning for, long-term planning for those kind of roads like Indian Town Road? Not covered here.
So long-term capacity projects for Indian Town Road go through
Yep.
the TPA. That process and FDOT coordinate together in regards to programming those projects. If it's regarding preservation and maintenance, that's through the department.
I think I saw you trying to click. So were you trying to go
Yeah,
back to the
sorry.
map of the CIS
Um,
facilities?
Is this an actual, if this is the actual presentation, that link you can click on, it will take you to the GIS website of all the SIS facilities. There's also a link on the next slide. It's a brochure about the CIS and how we go about this process in more detail, if you want to read it.
Just so the members know, the presentations will be posted to the TPA website under this board meeting after the meeting, so you'll be able to click that way.
Thank you. Great, all set. So Commissioner, Vice Mayor Sacks, I apologize.
Thank you very much. This one? Okay, here it's on. Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Is this only for intermodal system, or are we discussing the 2050 plan from FDOT for all our roads here in Palm Beach County?
This is just for the strategic intermodal system, which are generally those bigger highways and I-95 interstate system. Yes.
I didn't notice whether I-95 or the Turnpike was included in your list of items that FDOT was going to work on. Are they included?
Yes, I-95 is. I'm not familiar with the Turnpike's plan. They have a separate, they're separate from District 4,
Yeah.
but they also have a plan for the Turnpike, yes.
And will we be able to review the plans for the Turnpike within your, and I'm really looking also at staff. Would we be able to review any 2015 strategic plans for widening of the Turnpike?
I'm not sure. I would have to check on that for you. We can get back to you. I don't know the Turnpike's timelines or procedures. Do we have them here or?
We do have a representative from the Turnpike, and if they would like to
Excellent.
jump in on that.
We could, because this ties in obviously to our intermodal system.
Yeah. Hi, good morning, James Brown. I'm the TPA liaison for Florida's Turnpike.
Good.
I'll take that back. I'll get that information and I'll furnish that to the chair and to Valerie. So
I
we'll get that
appreciate it
answer
because
for you.
it's
as far
very
as we're-
important in terms of intermodal structure between the Turnpike and any of our major facilities. That would be important. So thank you. And then I'll
Yep.
receive it from you. Thank you, Ms. Reed. Let's go back to your strategic plan. You did mention that it includes I-95. I didn't
Yes.
see it in any of the notations of the highways, and I wonder if we could be provided with that at some point.
Are you looking for like a map or something that just shows all the facilities and that are on the strategic intermodal system, or specific projects on planned for said facility?
I'm looking for anything with regard to I-95 and how it ties in with your SIS.
Okay.
Okay, I
Could you go
appreciate
to
it.
the table that you had the I-95 projects? Or do you want to click to that table?
Sure.
I didn't see any notations for I-95. I can see that. Oh, I see. Okay.
Sorry, it's a
Junction
very-
to Lytton Boulevard and I see. Okay. Question answered. Thank you.
No problem. at all.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Valerie. Thank you.
Okay, I thank you so much. And I don't believe we had any public comments before we ask anyone else here.
No, Madam
Available?
Chair.
All right, seeing no further questions. Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you again for your
presentation
time. Thank
today.
you.
We appreciate it. All right, so we're moving on to our 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan. We're going to ask Nathan George, our LRTP coordinator, is going to be presenting on this item. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm really excited to come and talk to you guys today about the Long Range Transportation Plan 2050. We're calling it Vision 2050. We're halfway to 2100. Hard to believe we're talking about that far into the future. And it's hard to believe we're talking about the future of transportation 27 years from now. So I want to highlight for everybody, we don't really know what's going to happen in 27 years, right? We've talked about self-driving cars for a while, people moving to Mars. So transportation now has become this sort of space discussion, especially here in Florida. And it's really hard to pinpoint what transportation is going to look like 27 years into the future. So I invite you to take a journey with me 27 years into the past. So let's ground this conversation of what are we able to accomplish over this sort of a time frame. We're talking about a document that looks 25 years into the future. And so I'm going to take you back to 1996. The first Mission Impossible movie has just hit theaters. Tom Cruise is still doing it, so there's hope for us. And arguably the safest car on the road is the Volvo 850 sedan. This car had first generation side and back airbags, not the ones that pop out of your roof, but the ones that pop out of your seat. So that's arguably one of the safest cars at that time. And think about what we've accomplished since then. Smartphones. So the first generation of smartphones were coming out in this time frame. This is the Nokia 7000 communicator. It has a black and white screen, a manual keyboard, it pops open. And that would be like taking your eyeglass case, fill it with change to get in your pocket. That's the kind of devices that we had at that time. Fast forward to today, what have we got? We've got Teslas that arguably almost can drive themselves. They're not quite there yet, but they're getting close. They're very safe, got a lot of sensors. They can help you drive as a much safer person on our roads. So there's a lot of technology that's been introduced into our vehicles. We have accomplished a lot in that 27-year time frame. And then our phones, now you don't want to put it in your pocket because it's gotten so big. The color touch screens are huge. It's like putting an iPad in your pocket. You can do very basic tasks like you can do some work, you can attend a meeting, so you don't even need your car. Now you can take that call from home. So we've accomplished a lot. Technology has really influenced the transportation sector. It's influenced the way we live our lives. But it's important to ground this conversation. You know, this is what we're going to be able to accomplish over that similar time frame with a little acceleration for how much technology has really penetrated these markets over that time frame. So let's talk about what we're here to talk about, the long range transportation plan. So for those of you who may be newer to the process, others of you, this will be more of a reminder. This document is one of our core products at TPA. So it establishes what our region's goals are. What are we hoping to accomplish in the transportation world when we grow up, when we reach that point in 2050? We're identifying our regionally significant investments. This isn't a sidewalk in a neighborhood that's, you know, buried and not going to provide benefit to our region. This is the investments we're making that improve travel in our region and outside of our region. We probably all don't want to just live here all the time. So this might be, how do you travel? You know, getting to the airport. How do our goods come here internationally? So there are a lot of implications in the vision that we're putting forward and how that influences our lives here as a region. It's a 25-year document. So we're adopting a plan that will have a 25-year vision. Like I tried to highlight in the last slide, there's a lot of uncertainty. So what's really great about this document is as we adopt this document every 5 years, we have the opportunity to get a little more certainty. What's going to happen? So we start to see how technology is playing a role in the decisions we make, gives us an opportunity to start to solidify that vision every 5 years. So it's really great to acknowledge that we're adopting this plan, but we will have an opportunity to pivot every 5 years, just like we're doing as we replace our current 2045 long-range transportation plan. What is driving transportation in our region? I wanted to ground this kickoff conversation in, you know, what are some of those inputs? You can't talk about transportation and not immediately think traffic. Our industry has traditionally looked at traffic. That's the core of what we talk about. But TPA has done a really great job of acknowledging we have options. We have the opportunity that we can give people different ways to travel. So it's not just a conversation about traffic. It's now a conversation about what are other ways that we can combat these problems. Is it transit? Is it bike and ped accommodation? What's the role of our TNCs, of your Uber and Lyft? How is that going to influence the way people travel? Will people even own a car? So those are real conversations that are happening today, and those options influence how we make investments in this system. And then it's important to acknowledge land use and the role that land use and transportation, which was already mentioned here today, those two are really intertwined ideas. If we don't have a certain amount of density, some of those options may not be viable. So it's important to acknowledge that we need the density to accommodate some of those modes. So what are we hoping to accomplish as we try and take all these ideas and put them together? It's really about improving quality of life. So this plan, the ideas that we're putting forward should really make it safer to travel with your kid in a stroller, safer to ride your bike, walk to the bus. So those are our ultimate goals as we try and look at transportation and plan out this future system. How we're going to get there is through a results-oriented planning process. And so this is sort of how the steps. We'll walk you through some of the initial steps, but we'll keep coming back as we work through this process. The first is that it's a performance-based approach. We talked to you last month about our performance measures. Performance measures help us measure and weigh the ideas that we have, make sure they're actually going to produce some outcome. And so it's important that we're taking that process to make sure that it's not just an idea that's not based in some reality. Performance measures help us identify if we're going to actually achieve some end goal. So that's a really important part of this process. We're also allowing ourselves to think broadly. So what are your ideas? What might work in your community? It's not going to be the same for everybody around the table. You know, we've got very different needs if you look at communities in the I-95 corridor, communities that are west of I-95, call them the Turnpike, and then out in the Glades. So there are very different needs in those environments, and that influences how we're going to address transportation in each of those distinct environments. But we want to identify all the menu of options because we need to have that. So then we can apply the last layer, which is the financial, making sure that we're making investments that we've committed the right amount of money. We're not spending more money than we have. So it's a financially bound document by the time we get to the end of this process. There are a handful of factors we wanted to highlight for you as we kick off this process. A few things have changed since the 2045 plan. Bipartisan infrastructure law is one that has given us an additional point, that land use that I discussed earlier. They've created what they call a housing link opportunity. So we can look at housing and transportation, how those two relate to one another. It's a really great opportunity. We don't know exactly what that means yet. It's new, but we do look forward to incorporating housing as an element of this plan. So that'll be a great opportunity. Another is the Equity and Justice 40. So there's an acknowledgement that transportation impacts communities as we widen the highway, as we put transit into a community. So there are different ways that these investments will have impacts, and looking at those through a justice lens, specifically as we're talking about those big highways, a great opportunity that we can start to repair some of the damage that was done back in the 60s and 70s with interstate widenings or interstate introduction. But certainly there are opportunities that we can view these projects through a different lens. And that's something that I'm bringing into a lot of conversations that we have about even current projects and how can we maybe make those better projects as we look through this lens. And then scenario planning is how we're going to be measuring our projects, the ideas that come to the table. So one of those areas that's great is we'll be looking in more detail at the 561 plan. So these transit corridors that were introduced in 2045, we'll look at those scenarios. We'll start to see more detail about how transit influences this county, how it influences our travel outside of the county. So there are great opportunities there to look at that through our scenario planning process. And then we also have heard the influence of technology that I alluded to earlier, autonomous, connected, and electric. There are a lot of unknowns, but we're seeing a lot more detail about electric vehicles. We're starting to see early connected technology. So there are some great tools and assets that come out of that process, and we will start to measure how those influence our investments moving forward. All right, some great news. The 2045 plan had our goals and objectives that I'm showing on the screen. We don't see that our goals are going to change a whole lot moving forward. It's nice that we have a reminder in the corner of the room right here, safe, efficient, connected, and multimodal. It's not changing, it's our vision. And then add to that preserve, hoping to massage that term a little bit to maybe be more like resilient. So we're looking at our goals and objectives. They might be massaged a little as we get into this process, but they probably won't change a whole lot. But hopefully we're helping to identify maybe more solid objectives as we get into this process. Another first step is our public involvement plan. You heard Melissa talking about our public participation plan. This is a specific outreach document that will guide our process. How do we engage with the public? Our core of our engagement is going to be with our municipal partners, with our stakeholders, agencies. But the public is also going to be very involved in this process and very influential in what we end up with at the end of this process. And it's a continuous, comprehensive, cooperative process that's outlined by the federal government. So we have to make sure we're using that lens as we reach out to the public. Our schedule, this is a 2-year process. We're here to kick this off today. We've already been working for the last few months with our consultant partners. I want to walk you through 4 key milestones. Is a much more detailed schedule, but goals and objectives is the first major deliverable, solidifying that this spring. And then we'll get into a process of identifying what our needs are. So we'll be putting out a call for projects, asking for your communities to submit what your ideas are so that we can start to test those. So we anticipate that going out sometime in the summer, most likely, and we'll move into an assessment process to look at what the project costs are and start to put together that broad vision in the winter of this year. Next year, so through the winter and moving into the spring of next year, we'll be doing that modeling and scenario development process. We'll be testing the ideas, looking at what's feasible, starting to apply some costs. And then we'll start to develop that document sometime in the summer of next year and bring it to you for a drop dead, I'll call it a drop dead date of December for adoption. That's when we're required by statute to adopt. We want to be bringing you these materials throughout the process and bring you that final document early so you have the opportunity to weigh in and help us shape that final document. And then we want to make sure that folks are engaged throughout the process. We've been working with our municipal and stakeholder partners, and we've updated our website. So the website's going to be a great location for folks to go and get more information. I'll give the URL, palmbeachtpa.org/LRTP is where you can go to get information as we go through this process. That's where we will be continuing to post updates and new information about our events and where we can engage with folks. It's also got a sign up. So for anybody who's interested in having us continue to push that information to you, so you don't have to go to the website, they can go to that page and put in their information and they'll be on our contact list. With that, I want to conclude the presentation and assure you that this is the right team to get through this process, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Nathan, that was a great presentation. Thank you for taking us on that journey. Absolutely. Do we have any public comment?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, I see a card up for Mayor Koretsky.
Just in the way of a great presentation, in the way of expectations, in my view, from North County, the last plan update we did had a lot of best practices. There was a phenomenal collaboration with the county, and we had included in the TPA plan, and then local governments were able to have an integrated plan with the county. Something's happened in the fact that it seems like projects that had been identified to be happening in the near term, I just learned in the last month, just somehow got kicked off the plan. Maybe there's funding issues or whatever. I haven't had a chance to follow up with the county, but I'm hoping that we're gonna do that same process to where we do integrate the county's road improvement plans into our process, because we do benefit from that. And if it's changed radically from what we just thought, 2 years ago, well, we need to understand that. But if we don't kick off collaborating with them, then in my mind, we're not going to have truly a complete plan 1.5 years from now. So I just want to set that expectation. I know there's a shift and understand that to more, other mobility options, and that's fine. But for example, we have in Jupiter an intersection that's been on and off a plan to do something about it for 20 years now. We have it as a TPA priority project for FDOT to do a study of what can we do there. And it never gets funded by FDOT. So we're kind of frustrated in Jupiter that how is it that, we can't seem to get something done like that? It keeps falling off the radar. That was one of the projects that the county was going to do something. I'm maybe thinking the county eliminated it, waiting for FDOT to do their study so we can see what needs to be done. But again, if you're hearing frustration, yes, we are. But on the other hand, I started off by saying we had a best practice that we did. Let's make sure we're doing that so we can get back in alignment, whatever that alignment is, when we come out of this process on what we need to do and what is cost feasible. Thank you.
sorry, Councilman Hamara.
Thank you. And that's an excellent presentation. It puts together at a high enough level, but a detailed enough level to really understand how those things interconnect and the considerations of the factors that actually influence. One of the things we were constantly reminded of is that our transportation system is a study in systems engineering, if it's anything, it really is. And so having a big picture like this is really important. And it's exciting looking long range like that, especially with the possibilities of autonomous vehicles and all these other things and technology being applied at the individual vehicle level and options level. It's really great. It was mentioned that models are used and I assume being constantly updated, run oftentimes and that kind of thing. Something I'd be interested in, and that can be on an individual level or otherwise, is a brief overview of what modeling does TPA rely upon? How's it work? What are the factors? I'm sure a lot of them are what you just stated. I think that would be useful in being able to have substantial conversations with our residents, as well as indicate how flexible and responsive the planning activity really is. So that's just a thought for the future. And speaking of activities underway, can you give us a brief update on 561 activity? FDOT, last time I heard, there was a plan to look at doing a cost feasible study.
Right. Sure. So, and I just wanted to mention or respond to Mayor Koretsky's comment about collaboration with the county. This plan is directing the state system, the state and federal system, but we obviously want to incorporate that and align it with the county, even though the plan doesn't dictate the county's roadway system. However, we are planning to have even more collaboration this time. We are scheduling, in addition to our monthly meetings with county engineering, having regular meetings with county planning and engineering. We're incorporating all the development coming into that plan, and we've established our technical advisory committee as basically kind of the steering committee of this. So they'll be getting even more updates and being participating throughout this process, in addition to us coming out to your communities to do outreach. So we're really excited about that. And then to Councilman Hamara, to your request for a staff to give you an overview of the modeling process and how that works. Happy to do that. Nathan and Andrew will follow up with you on that. Regarding the 561 plan, so that's our vision for primarily on the state system for regional enhanced transit corridors. We have done a planning level study for US 1 and also recently completed State Road 7 Okeechobee corridors. After that planning study, FDOT does the next steps of for Okeechobee and State Road 7. They have programmed to do a feasibility study in fiscal year 25. So that's 24 to 25, which is the next step for that. And then for the US 1 study, that was completed in 2018. We've been working with all the municipalities along the way, and Palm Tran. We prioritized funding for electric buses, enhanced transit shelters, transit signal priority, working with the county on both those corridors. The other corridors, we're planning to do additional corridor studies, doing a more high level kind of mobility vision on them, but also doing more quarter by quarter studies with each of the communities. So we're working through that moving forward.
Great, thank you. Just to underscore again what Mayor Koretsky said about the importance of collaborating, and I like the idea. More conversations is a good way to make sure that you're improving the collaboration to whatever extent that's possible, because any one piece that's missing can make this whole effort a lot less effective than it would be otherwise, no doubt about it. So thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Vice Mayor Sacks.
Thank you so much. Excellent presentation, because I love to look at the future. When you think about, we are so close to the next century, it's very exciting. So my question to you is this, and I think it's something we need to look at. We talk about autonomous connected electric vehicles. How does that relate to the design of roadways? In other words, should we be designing our roadways to have more lanes for vehicles, motor vehicles, or should we designing our roadways to also accommodate autonomous and connected vehicles, as they are doing right now in some of the other states? That is, larger pathways, segregated pathways, for example, for automated or electric bicycles and golf carts segregated from the motor vehicles. What does this look like in the next couple of years in your professional opinion?
Yeah, I think you're raising some of that, uncertainty about what the future looks like because, we talk about connected technologies as it relates to vehicles, and folks are talking about what does the traffic signal look like? Does it need an additional signal display? How does it integrate with the signal operation system for the drivers like us who are out there without all of that technology? So there are a lot of questions in the areas that you're talking about. I think we'll probably hear more as we look at research. As we're working through this process, we'll hear more about what that could look like. But I think there's still a lot of uncertainty around, what those future systems will look like. And we probably will be forced to wait longer to see how those technologies and how that autonomous and connected will influence the ultimate system. That's where I feel we are today. I will tell you that one of the areas that I'm focusing on conversations right now is how connected technology can improve our operations and specifically in like communications and safety. Because we've already started to see early generations of connected technology where cars, and whether they're autonomous or not, can connect with the signal infrastructure, and that allows emergency vehicle, transit signal preemption. So those are opportunities to improve safety, reliability, and efficiency for some of those emergency and even just the average driver knowing a signal's about to turn red so they can adjust their expectations. That's where we're seeing more of the near-term benefits, is just our operational parameters in the transportation sector. And a lot of those other, how does it influence design of roads and things are more uncertain. We're starting to see more like opinion pieces about what that might look like.
I think that since there are roads in my district that are being widened today, specifically Lyons Road, which is a county road, also Atlantic Avenue, which is a state road, should we not start to look at the design of these roadways so that we are already ready for segregated paths, as we've always discussed in this meeting, segregated paths for electric cars, for smaller electric cars, connected cars, before we begin, or as we begin to design roadways today. I'm not talking about signalization because that's already there. Our emergency vehicles, we can already in the county make sure they get those green lights all the way through. At least it should work. But what I'm looking at now is you're talking about 2050. We're designing roads right now. Should we not begin to have a design or a projection of the design of roadways to accommodate these autonomous vehicles, these electric bicycles, and electric, well, even golf carts, pathways for golf carts, as they have in Central Florida? Just asking so that we can maybe be on top of it and in front of this discussion as we design our roadways today. And I know, Valerie, you're very up on this, and I appreciate it. And I want everybody to applaud your efforts on it, because today is tomorrow.
Thank you.
Our roadways have got to be ready for that. And I appreciate your vision on that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll jump in again. Great presentation. I want to mention a couple things. This is one of the primary focus area in this LRTP and in the regional transportation plan that's happening. How do we accommodate this? It's at various levels, just like autonomous vehicles currently are at various levels of technologies, whether it's fully autonomous or in some sort of phase. So in addition to the technology improvements where the vehicles can communicate with the signals and it's all working in some sort of system, there's also the signage on the roadways, the actual striping of the roadways, making everything very visible so the autonomous car can detect where things are and detect pedestrians and all those safety improvements. I want to mention, we are thinking about this. We are looking at this. It obviously depends on the context of the situation. So if you're in a downtown, there may be mobility lanes, which I was talking with Councilmember Annapolis yesterday about that. But, you know, for those electric vehicles, if you're in a planned community like Tradition and just north of us, there may be wide shared use paths. And that's something that we're promoting. I know the section that is trying to move forward on Atlantic Avenue. The board passed a resolution saying we want shared use paths on both sides, and they've been able to accommodate that for the most part. So those are 10 feet. That's as wide as some travel lanes for cars. So that's great to be able to accommodate that. So I think it's definitely important to think about that. We're actually updating our complete street design guidelines. We're having a workshop next week on that. And it talks about the context. It talks about accommodating for these things and where, you know, in what context, where to do what. Autonomous vehicles are still, you know, as I mentioned, they're in different phases of approvals. Some of these communities, like in Tradition, it's, you know, they can't operate on over 25 miles per hour roads. They have to be in kind of, they're not there yet, but we're looking out to 2050. How do we incorporate all of this? How do we plan for it? I want to just make a plug too, because this afternoon, there's actually a webinar talking about this for the state of Florida, and we can send it out after this meeting on what they call ACEs, automated vehicles, connected vehicles, electric vehicles, shared vehicles. Beth Kegel, who's here from one of our local leaders in the economic community and the mobility community, she'll be speaking on that on the statewide level and how it's being integrated here in the state of Florida. So we can send out that link after this meeting. If you're not able to listen to it, maybe there'll be a recording to be able to listen later. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments or questions? Oh, I'm so sorry. Joni, you're just exactly in my blind spot. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I just want to follow up on Mayor Maria Sachs's comments because I think today is today. I mean, in central Palm Beach County, and I'll give you an example that happened to be yesterday. Okay, I taken Parker home from downtown West Palm Beach. Everybody's familiar with that. It's the scooter, you know, the ones where you stand up like you're riding okay. In the drive, in the lane going south at Okeechobee and went in the lane all the way on Parker to Belvedere. Okay, there is no bike lane. It says share the road, I guess, but you can't pass them, and it's scary. I mean, and he was riding like he was in a car, and then turned left to go down Belvedere, and I don't know where he went that way, but that's happening today. It's not 25 years in the future. And the electric bikes, people use those to get to work every day. So I think that's one of the top priorities we need to address now, maybe not 25 years from now, but so I agree, I understand you're working on it, but even the buffered bike lanes, I know we're going to be doing that on Lake Worth Road. So is that envisioning that those bike lanes would also be utilized by those vehicles as well? So I just wanted to bring that. It's happening today. Thanks.
Sure. And just to,
took care of that.
On Lake Worth Road, that project is going to have separated, and that's near the college in that high crash area. They were able to accommodate those separated bike lanes. In other areas like on Atlantic Avenue, it's actually a separated shared use path, similar to a picture that Nathan showed earlier on Banyan, where it's a wide path separated from the cars, and it's for, you know, all other users. In some contexts, like here in downtown West Palm Beach on Olive, you might, you know, it might be appropriate for a scooter or an electric bike to be on the road. By law, motor vehicles, they are when they are riding on the road, they are considered vehicles. They're allowed to be there. They need to behave as vehicles, stop at stop signs, red lights, and all that. But in terms of, you know, when you start getting on more higher speed roads or wider roads, you know, those separated facilities are really important, and or even a bicycle lane or a buffered bike lane to provide that space for those vehicles so that you can potentially pass them, or they have their own lane.
Okay, Vice Mayor Sachs again.
Well, thank you very much. I'd just like to follow up on what Mayor Brickman said, because what has happened, and this is what I was talking about, the design of our roads. It is an engineering fact that the more lanes you have on a highway, the more traffic you have. Just look at Los Angeles freeways. So The idea of the future is that, which today is tomorrow, which is smaller lanes for motor vehicles and a segregated pathways, which you have been a champion of, Valerie. Segregated meaning there is a barrier between those kids on electric scooters, electric bikes, even golf carts, segregated from the motor vehicles. That encourages connectivity between communities. Also for folks, as in my district, I have a lot of senior citizens who probably should not be driving, but they could do a golf cart. Some of them like the electric scooters, which is a little dangerous, but still to have a pathway, segregated pathway for those electric vehicles. So I applaud the TPA and our champion, Ms. Nielsen, for promoting this on the roads that we are designing today, because today is tomorrow. Thank you, Mayor.
And just to, I also, as I mentioned, this Complete Streets workshop and our design guidelines, we applaud all of our local municipalities. And if you haven't, we encourage you to adopt a Complete Streets policy so that when your staff, when your municipality is designing a local roadway, you consider these things, and also approving development so that you ensure that these facilities and sidewalks are connected and help create this safe connected system. Thanks.
And if I could, just to offer a quick analogy on the connected autonomous, these, things that we don't really have a whole lot of certainty on. To borrow the analogy, it is like we're trying to change a wheel on a moving car. We don't really know where we're headed with those things yet. But I want to point out that we are a planning organization filled with planners, and you get what you plan for. So if the vision is these safe places for people to walk and bike and do shared whatever, we can accomplish that vision. That's not a mystery. So certainly I encourage everybody, as we have these conversations, that's how we're going to be planning. That's the lens that we view this plan through. So we look forward to having those conversations, a lot of them with you all as we work through this process. And
Thank you,
thanks for
Nathan.
listening.
You still have some more questions. Hang on one second.
Oh.
So we've got Commissioner Diaz, and then we'll have Mayor Petrolia.
No question, just a comment. Talking about technology like autonomous vehicles and stuff is always really popular and fun, but I do want to highlight and commend you and the team for including, housing equity and justice, because that is something that for years, I mean, even looking back to 1993, we've made a lot of progress, but so much needs to be made. And I've always been a firm believer that whether it's, most issues, including environmental and mobility issues, they can be resolved through good planning and changing of some of the practices. And this might be a good segue to the next issue. But for example, we often talk about when we're talking about housing and affordability, we often look at numbers, but we tend to not include maybe quality of life as much as we need, especially for groups like the disabled, who are historically, some of the most systemically discriminated against. And so we can right so many wrongs of the past by including this on long-term planning. So I think it's huge, and I hope it encourages others to do the same. For Lake Worth Beach, we recently agreed to do a housing study to get, really good, solid numbers on what we need to do for policy change and planning for affordability, especially in housing. But part of that crux was we, admit and are looking at how it is inextricably linked to our mobility plan as well, and that just works together so well. So thank you for including that.
So much. All right, Mayor Petrolia.
I just have a comment as well. I mean, it's kind of an interesting concept that we're talking about this for the next 25 years or better. 5 years ago, there were no electric bikes on the roads. And today there's a slew of electric bikes on the roads with very little places to go other than to mix in with traffic. It's very interesting to see how we are planning probably behind what's actually happened, which is good, because you don't want to do things that aren't going to be beneficial to the society, but the society is telling us this is where we're going in the future. And I kind of attribute that to a lot of things. It's difficult for people to get insurance today. It's very, very expensive. So there is no other alternative, with the exception of maybe public transportation, and that's limited in where it goes and the timing of it. When they get on these bikes, they can actually get to where they need to go very quick. And I noticed something when I went to Palm Beach County Days, because I took the Tri-Rail down to the Miami direct flight to Tallahassee. And it was the first time that I was on that Tri-Rail where the entire one half of the Tri-Rail was dedicated to bike racks. So people bring their bikes on, slip it in a bike rack, sit right across from the bikes in the couple of seats that are there available. So it just goes to, this is where we're going. So we need to plan for that and make sure that it is available. And also the safety aspect of it obviously goes without say, that has to be first and foremost. So I guess they say, as they say, if you build it, they will come. Well, they're already telling us that they're here, so let's build it for them. That's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you all for the comments. We appreciate it.
Okay, all right. So, great conversation. Do we have another card? Oh, I'm so sorry. Mayor Weiss.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this very engaging conversation. Couple things, you were talking about density and we've got legislation that's pending up in the state that will change density plans or create opportunities for additional density regardless of what we plan for. So there, will be preempted on commercial and industrial property where it will become available for residential use. So as you're moving forward in this, and obviously we've got a couple of years to work on this, but I think that's going to be an important element to help us understand and how, if the developers take up those options that are going to be provided through that. So that's, where we thought we had commercial only, we may end up with commercial and residential at densities that, we didn't, from planners, didn't plan for. So that's one thing. I have even bigger visions in terms of opportunities for new transportation. We talk about the ability for drones to deliver packages, and how's that going to impact all those delivery vehicles that are out on the road. And then we also, the vertical takeoff and landing vehicles, and what are their impacts going to be? I mean, so I think it's a great exercise, but I think we need to make sure we're looking at a very broad look, not where we are today, but where technologies and new modes potentially, and totally different ways of doing things. I mean, in 50 years, you look at, where we were, and you showed a slide of 1996, but this thing didn't even exist much more than a decade ago. And where we are today with these devices. And so I think, there's just going to be, I think, a lot of disruption. But that creates a lot of opportunity. So I applaud your efforts. But it's a very wide open area and lots of opportunities to look at a lot of different things.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Marino.
Thank you. And I commend FDOT and the TPA. This is a 25-year plan. That's a living document. I mean, that's why we're updating it. And a lot of the things that are coming to fruition today are because people with vision 25 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago saw it. And Greg and I had the opportunity to listen to Jared Perdue yesterday. And, it's funny because oftentimes the projects that finally get done, they are probably 10 years behind where they should be. But between, as he said, between the design stage and the funding stage, it's a work in progress. So we appreciate all of the interaction that we have with FDOT, with Florida Turnpike Authority, with our municipalities and the county together, because if we weren't all at the table, this wouldn't happen. So I just wanted to say my editorial. Thank you.
Okay, I definitely don't see any more cards. There've been a couple of last minute pop-ups. We're good? Anyone? All right. Again, obviously we're really engaged in this. And I think that we might get the best product the product is always excellent, but this might be the most engaged, future thinking project that we've ever gotten because of all the changes going on and because of the input that you're hearing. I'm excited especially about the fact that you included technology for a smart and connected region here in the LRTP. That's definitely going to be the way to go forward. And I look forward to all of our board having comments on this. And it is unfortunate we don't have a magic wand and can't suddenly have an accessory lane everywhere. As we know, it takes 8 to 10 years for any project from start to finish. So I don't know about you guys, I'm term limited. I've only got 3 more years left. So anything that I started 3 years ago, I won't even see it get done by the time I'm done. So do keep that in mind as you put these priorities on your list. My last thing will be for our 39 municipalities and our county, when we have the call for projects, get them in. Talk to your planners now. If you're on this board, talk to the person that is your TAC representative and have that collaborative conversation now. So that wish list, like Santa Claus is saying, what do you want in 25 years? It is on you. It is on our 39 municipalities in our county to come up with that list. And this is it. So if we don't do this, then we won't have that comprehensive list. Both Miami-Dade and Broward and several other counties throughout the whole state have a dedicated funding source of some sort of a surtax or transportation tax. We don't have that here. If it's something future leaders see happening, this would be the blueprint. And if we don't get it right now, then we will probably not be able to ever consider funding like that. So that's my little soapbox. And oh, I'm sorry. We have another. Is your card up? No, you're just peanut gallery. Okay, it's all good. So we're going to thank you so much for that.
Can we fund
presentation.
Thank you, Chair.
Oh, jetpacks. Yeah, we want jetpacks.
We want jetpacks.
I'll just
So we don't
get
even
on
have
that
to
right
worry.
away.
We don't even have to worry about lanes. We want jetpacks, individual ones.
Well, we'll share one. We'll share the first jetpack, please. Thank you so much, Nathan. All right, great. Jetpacks are good. I love it. All right, now on to one of my favorites. Come on up. So we're going to talk about our Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board. We have Greg Gabrielle, who is our TPA Transit Coordinator, presenting on this item. Hello, sir.
Good morning, TPA Board. For the record, Gregory Gabriel, Transit Coordinator, and then the liaison for the LCB. I'm excited to give you an update requested by Chair Reed on the Transportation Disadvantaged and Local Coordinating Board. I'd like to start first with a quick definition on how we define TD, which is person who, because of physical or mental disability, income status, who are unable to transport themselves. This is a general definition of it, but Palm Trend, which we have in the room, I'd like to say thank you to Lou for being here. For being here, he's the senior manager at Palm Trend for this service. But Palm Trend defined this service, they serve disabled, low income, and the elderly. That's their core customers for this service. And this is the most important slide here. We have a lot of acronyms. So at the state level, we have the CTD, which are commissioners who are appointed by the governor. And they're basically here to coordinate the transit system for the TD. And the Palm Beach CPA is the DOPA, where basically we assist the CTD and the CTC, which is Palm Trend, and providing the service. And as you can see, Palm Trend Connection is a service provider who will serve the communities. And the last one here is our partners, which comprise of 18 members. That's member from the school district. And as I mentioned, Chair Reed is the chair for the LCB. And they are here on the collaborative effort to basically provide additional advice and that's needed to the CTC. As described by the further status 427, the LCB is an advisory entity and provide assistance to the community, to the CTC, which is Palm Trend. How do they do that? The LCB meets quarterly, and we make recommendations, we review plans, we have a TDSP plan, and also we're doing evaluation, which is we have one right now, and also provide feedback to the CTD at the state level. I would like to highlight some of the services that Palm Trend Connection have been providing, over 700,000 trips by purpose. And 80% of these trips are ADA trips. You have, for example, medical trips, which can be a dialysis trip, or less sustainable trips could be a cancer treatment or trips that someone needs to go to sustain their life. So it's a very important services that Palm Trend Connection is providing. So this is the exciting part, which we are doing now. We started this evaluation, started February and in May. Right now we are working, all these activities are actually happening simultaneously, where we are working with Palm Trend. We have a workbook about 56 pages where we have to complete and provide to the state. And we have 12 of our LCB members who are volunteers to call the customers to get feedback directly from them. And also we're using our PR team to actually help with connecting with the customers and provide input. And those questions were provided by the CTD, and we're just administering those services to know what do they think about the services, and then we take that to Palm Trend and they can make improvements as needed. The observation ride is for example, a LCB member on the cutaway buses, observing how the driver interacting with the customer, getting the true experience on how the service is happening. And lastly, once we conclude all the surveys, we'll be coming back to the LCB board to give a reporting of our findings and what was reported. So we did have some aspirational goals, and we do expect to surpass those goals. For example, the observation ride, the target we have is 6, and we actually have 12 members of the LCB who wants to participate. And as you can see, that's the number of emails we expect to send out, the number of phone calls, and those phone calls are actually LCB members on the phone calling each of the customers to find their inputs on the service. And that's my presentation for you today. Any questions?
None really. Lou, do you have anything you want to add at all? No, he did great. Okay. Do you guys have any questions at all? So just so you know, this board, which does meet quarterly, so we're excited because normally we were aiming last time they had 5 folks that rode on the bus, and now we're going to have 12. So everyone's going to really get a bird's eye view as to what's going on. At the last meeting, Lou had a wonderful presentation. There are very few complaints. All of the riders are being well taken care of. As always, more bus drivers would be helpful. So if you could ever work on that somehow, we'd appreciate it. But it's the more time I've spent in this, it is something to be proud of in our county, and services are being provided for people who really need it. So, oh, I'm sorry. Do you have your card up, ma'am? Okay, ma'am. All right. Anyone else have a comment? Ma'am. All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate the report. Then, do we have any public comments, Amanda?
No, Madam Chair.
All right. Thank you. All right. Are there any other partner agencies that would like to provide an update? Hello.
Good morning. My name is Yash Nagal. I'm the interim director of transit planning at Palm Trend. I just have a brief update. I know I'm going to be between you and an early lunch, so I'm not going to keep everybody here much longer. So for Palm Trend, we're very happy to report that for February, we experienced a ridership increase of 20%. So the trend is going up and up. Last year in February, we had about 569,000 trips that we reported, and this year we've had about almost 683,000 trips that we're reporting. So ridership keeps going up. Ridership is obviously one of our top KPIs, so we're very happy to report that. Back in January, we did a minor service change to our Route 1, which travels from Boca Raton all the way up to Gardens Mall in Palm Beach Gardens. For that route, we shifted the alignment of the route between North Lake Boulevard and PGA to be on US 1 instead of Prosperity Farms. We're very happy to announce that that change is coming out great. We've experienced a ridership increase of about 200%. We had about 30 people going through that region when the other route was there. And right now there is upwards of 100 people that are traveling in that section through transit. So very happy to report that. And then we talked earlier today about Port St. Lucie. So the survey is out. Please go ahead and take it, palmtrend.org. The survey is right at the homepage. We've had almost 140 responses in less than a week. So and the responses have been largely positive. So we look forward to hearing more from the public. We're still in the analysis phase. We want to find out how the public wants the service to be, if they want the service to be out there and everything. So that will be all for my update. Oh, and we'll be very happy to come back with an information item to talk more about Port St. Lucie next month.
That was going to be my question. Perfect. Okay, thank you. Amanda, do we have any public comments?
No, Madam Chair.
All right. Commissioner Marino?
In our efforts to go all the way to Port St. Lucie, are we working with the Marty in Martin County also?
We have been in coordination with both Port St. Lucie and Martin County as we talk about the service, and FDOT.
Okay, thank you. And also I just wanted to let the folks here know that PalmTran just recognized 3 individuals for their ridership. The gentleman who was the person riding the most, it was over 1,400 trips and in the last year. And he actually has a car, lives in West Palm, but takes the bus to Boca. Says it saves them time and money. So we had 3 folks. Another one was I think 1,200. Another one was 1,100, and they were awarded a 7-month pass. So
Absolutely,
thank
yep.
you very much. It does show that there are people out there riding. So thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, Ash. Good to see you. Any other? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Before you sit
2
down,
cards popped up. Come on back. So we'll go with Councilman Amara and then Mayor.
just a
Kratzky.
quick thing. First of all, thank you for that update. And I'm glad to hear that you all continue to look at the routes to try to improve their reliability, efficiency, attractiveness, and therefore ridership, right? You mentioned, I think Prosperity Farms Road, having just done an adjustment there. Do you have any other routes that you're looking at making similar types of adjustments for improved service?
So we get a chance to change service 3 times a year. And those are considered the service changes that we do. And every service change, we look at basically all the routes where we can gain more efficiency. So we're continually looking at all the routes throughout the county.
And where would we find, for example, if we're looking at a particular metropolitan area or a metropolitan area that's serviced by a route, where would we find any indication of possible changes to the routes?
It's sort of all over. It depends on what the analysis finds. For example, we look at things like passengers per revenue hour. That's basically productivity for a route. So we have a lot of productive routes in the central part of the county. What we try to do is have more frequency on them, and most of them will correlate with the 561 plan because that's where that's also focused on. So that's the core of our network, and then we have other routes that we consider coverage routes. So what we try to do is have more frequency on the bulk high volume routes, and then have sort of a coverage network on the routes that might be far out west, like west of Military would be a good example where you would find a lot of those.
Yeah, it'd be good to have that information readily available for those of us that talk to the public and try to encourage them to consider using mass transit, especially if they've had experiences something less than totally satisfactory, to know that there is some planning to try to make it better, kind of a thing. That would be particularly helpful, but I appreciate that. One other thing, we talk about low hanging fruit, shelters.
Yes.
Bus shelters. And I saw an effort, which quite frankly left me a little bit less than wildly enthusiastic. Good thing about it was a change from no shelter, where people were using shopping carts to sit on, to now we've got a single pole with a little seat around it. Kind of looks like a kindergarten thing, quite frankly. But anyway, that's a step in the right direction. This is low hanging fruit. Hopefully you guys are really pushing for that.
Absolutely. And we're very close to having on our RFP that would basically allow us to buy bus shelters, other amenities, like electronic screens and all of that. So we're the seed that you see is sort of a middle step, as you said, to having a larger improvement project.
Again, that's the kind of information that's encouraging to people who might consider riding on mass transit, but don't like the fact there's no bus shelter, don't like the fact that it's taken too long. All of these improvements can help to encourage that ridership. So thank you for that.
Agreed.
I'm excited to hear about looking at West Palm to St. Lucie. I live in North County in Jupiter. I work for NextEra Energy in my day job. We have a whole host of employees, both at NextEra and in the town that live in St. Lucie County. And I would submit that is the best answer we have to affordable housing is St. Lucie. So therefore connecting it better, in better ways than just cars helps. And I know that just recently up in Gatlin Boulevard in the last year, I know St. Lucie had constructed a park and ride.
Correct.
So I don't know if that's the one you're connecting in with.
That
but,
is the north terminus of the project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other cards. Thank you again so much.
Thank you.
All right, so any other agency updates from anyone? Any other partner agency updates? All right, so we'll move on to our administrative items. They are provided as information for the board. There are no staff presentations on these items unless requested. Do we have any public comments on this one, Amanda?
No.
Okay, and go ahead.
But no, I just, I wanted to, I missed mentioning this at the beginning, but I wanted to do a special shout out to our TPA General Counsel, Paul Googleman, it's his birthday and anniversary today. So thank you so much for being with us. And with us today. We really appreciate you.
Yeah. And he's here, listen, Paul's amazing. And if I could, an opportunity to thank you for all your support this last year, actually 2 years, as we've been through a really difficult transition period here at the TPA. For those of us who've been on boards during this time, you've been a great source of consistency and information, and we appreciate all of your help. And we'll get you out of here any minute now so you can go. Well, we're glad for it. Thank you so much. And I also want to do a shout out for our executive director. The last 6 months, 6 to 8 months has been spent doing some cleanup that was there before you got here. And some of the executive committee knows about what we're doing, and you guys have been receiving emails as well to keep you up to date. So I want to thank you for your leadership and the phenomenal staff that's been so supportive. You guys, it's been a pleasure watching everyone come together over the last few months. And so aside from that, I think that's about it. I just want a couple of action items for everybody. PPP, do it today, right? So 21 board members, let's get 20 more entries at least. Share it on socials or anywhere you feel comfortable. Also share the Port St. Lucie bus service survey. And I would love to see everyone here at the group ride in the morning on the 31st. It's always really fun. And and if not, try to get out on your bike, send us a picture so we can share everyone, even if you're just riding your bike to the market instead of taking your car. We'd love to show that our board is actually out there on bikes or walking or on public transportation. And with that, our next board meeting is scheduled for April 20th, and we are now adjourned. Thank you.